dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like 2 tortas in a Jack in the Box drive-thru, asking for too many tacos. Man, that's a bad habit. Bye. That's real diabetes. Now, in a menudo style direct fashion, you guys see the thumbnail, so we're going to get into something a little bit more serious, something I don't really speak on, but I felt that if for no other reason, I should put my input, my 2 cents into this information, man. Let's get straight to it, man. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bells on all so that way you're directed in the dope content that I am bringing, and I highly appreciate all the support that I've been getting. Gracias. Thank you guys so much for all the support. It's highly appreciated. Now, El Mago, right? The magician, man. Eduardo Escobedo. For those of you that don't know, who've been sleeping up under a rock, this is a very well-known individual, man. He was alleged to be a lot of things. He's had corridos written about him. He's had a lot of people with a lot of status and a lot of notoriety, seen pictured with them. People like Floyd Mayweather, people like Al Pacino, several other individuals, man. How do you move in these circles? How do you accumulate the funds to be able to even, attempt to associate with these type of individuals? You have to be somebody of notoriety. You have to be somebody that's well known. You have to have papers, right? But just because you're alleged to be a certain way or to have certain associations in the past doesn't mean you continue to grow in that flavor. But this guy has had a lot of ill will spoken on him. He's been put into certain circles, man. And once your name is placed in a certain circle, man, it's hard to shake that. No matter what you do. You could start out as a gang member. You can get your life together. You could start out as being part of a group, an organization, a cartel, or whatever the case may be. And then later on in life, decide, man, you're going to take the money that you've accumulated through whatever actions that you've done or not done and put them into something new, man, and keep your legacy going. Keep protecting your family. Keep supporting your familia. And that's the story and the legacy of El Mago, man. Someone who was well known to have done that. And like I said, there's corridos written specifically about how he changed his ways. Now, this guy grew up in the East LA area, actually graduated from Garfield High. And the reason I wanted to speak upon his name and give him his flowers and his due process and his love was because he was found murdered, dead on Thanksgiving morning. Him and another associate of his, another friend. Of course, there was 3 of them. One other survived his injuries. He was taken to a local hospital and he's in stable condition. But the other 2 were found dead. Now, supposedly, allegedly, there was a party that was thrown in this industrial area. And I know all about things like that because we used to do that when I was younger, man. You throw parties in industrial area, it's out of the way. You don't have to worry about placas coming, kicking doors down, fucking things up. There was always a lot of raves that happened back in the days in these industrial areas. A lot of underground parties, a lot of after-hour things, a lot of shit popping. Anyways, in the Willowbrook area of Los Angeles, there's supposedly an area where people party. So the night prior to Thanksgiving, and I said it the other day when I said, I wonder where it's going to be cracking out the night before Thanksgiving, because traditionally in Merced, where I'm from, that's the party night. That's the club night. That's the night everybody goes to kick and have a good time the night before Thanksgiving. I don't know why it is that way. Everyone wants to get drunk as fuck, have a good time, and eat turkey the next day. But there was a party that was going on, and of course, earlier in that morning, the party went all night to the morning time. Shots rang out, cops were called, and when they got there, they found 2 bodies. Now, one of them happened to be El Mago. What makes El Mago stand out amongst a lot of other people is that he has been alleged to be in association or a member of the Sinaloa cartel. Now, I don't really talk about cartel business, and I won't talk about their transactions and what they do from here to the border, but I will say that he was alleged to be an associate through the history or his history, because everybody has a history. We all have a history in our lives, what our DNA is, what our life does while we're alive, the courses, the roads we take, where we go. My history is going to be a legacy of youth authority, prison, and of course, ultimately YouTube. Whereas El Mago's was, he was alleged to have been in association with the Sinaloa cartel, a cartel member. Now, there are those that still say he was still involved in the life, still affiliated or associated, but I can't speak on that. From everything I've heard and I've seen, that man once lived a different type of lifestyle and then definitely graduated from that. You elevate your status, you get away from certain things, if you know they're not good for you. But this man has been known to be an associate. So I guess, there's a lot of things that go into this man's life. He did do federal time, about 4.5 years for possession. But that's prison. That's life. Sometimes when you're young, you get involved, man, at a high level. You happen to get the right connect and you get caught. If you start to, if it starts to be known in town that you associate or you have any type of affiliations with someone who's very well known in the nautical game, more than likely you're going to get them 3-letter boys knocking at your door and looking at you. And that's exactly what happened to Eduardo. That's what happened to El Mago. He was definitely caught up and did Fed time. Now, there's a lot of urban legend surrounding this guy's name. A lot of people like to say that he, was once involved in a hit on a rival cartel member, to which they could not prove. He ultimately went to trial and he was proven innocent, but his brother and another associate of his did actually catch the time and are now currently doing life all day over that case. When you rise through the ranks of any gang or group or organization, your name and your word is all you have. The way you live and carry yourselves, the interaction with other people is how they're going to base you, is how they're going to judge your character, whether it be in prison, whether it be in a street gang, or in a different type of group, or even a cartel, man. If you make the right connections, if you have the right ways of thinking, if you're down for whatever, and you use this rather than just this, then these are the type of individuals people want to have around them. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that he was part of that life. Maybe he was and maybe he wasn't, but that's not for us to speak on. The fact remains that when you get a stigma or you get people to characterize you in a certain way, that's going to stick to you. Now, supposedly this guy was, at the highest levels that you can be at within the state of California when dealing with the cartel. For him to be found murdered or dead, there's a lot of things that could lead up to that. It could have been basically, an argument that happened at this party. It could have been a planned hit. Of course, it could have been, something that was accidental. But usually with someone of that notoriety, it's not accidental. Usually it's meant for. Now, I have heard that the other associate, his friend that he was with, was part of a local street gang, part of 18th Street is what they're saying. So it could have been where they seen rivals. His friend got into it. There was some type of conflict and this guy died. Because what I've heard since his incarceration, this man came out and put all his efforts and all his money into his wife's hair business. And that's what a lot of people do. Jay-Z did it. There's a lot of other rappers that have done it. People have done it. You take things as a stepping stone. You take your money that you've accumulated, whether it be through bad means or good means, and you put it into something positive, man, and you continue to grow. You're always going to be watched and you're always going to be looked at. You have to understand when you're in that life, even if you're in that life just a little bit or assumed to be in that life, man, they're always going to be watching. There's always going to be somebody waiting for you to trip and fall so that way they could get your shit, take your shit, or lock your ass up. Now, obviously, this guy, whatever he was doing, he was moving smooth with the purpose because he never did anything past the 4.5 years that he ended up doing in prison. But there was a lot of people in the city of Los Angeles, man, that said that this guy moved smooth. Now, there's been a lot of pictures of him with several celebrities, whether it be in Las Vegas, New York, Hollywood. This guy moved in them circles. He had money. But that's because he was running a very lucrative business. See, sometimes businesses take off, sometimes they don't. And because, you're associated with or assumed to be associated with, people that are high ranking within the cartel, especially a cartel like the Sinaloa cartel that gets much respect and is feared tremendously, right? People are going to wiggle smooth around you. They're not going to test your abilities because they're scared that they might get dipped and smashed. They're scared that bad things could happen to them. There's a stigma when it comes to the cartel, man. People automatically assume that these guys are going to kick your door in and grab you. I, myself, don't want that smoke when it comes to these guys. That's why I keep their business up out of my mouth, up out of my dientes, because I understand that it's a serious situation there. When you come from a state of poverty, when you come from having nothing, I've been to Mexico several times, and I can tell you stories about it. When you come from that and there's nothing there, you only have one way to lean, man. So these guys do it to the death. This means a lot to them. This is truth and facts. So, El Magoo, growing up in California, growing up in LA, is a little bit of a different enigma. He's a little different because whatever he was doing in Califas, and in that fashion. But, there's been several stories of him, of course, being a launderer of money, or, utilizing vehicles to launder money, things of that nature. No one knows that to be true. Only the authorities and himself and his family know that to be true. Now, him dying on Thanksgiving morning, I was talking to my primo about it, and he said, hey, because he actually met El Magoo in Las Vegas one time. He was passing through. They were at a restaurant, man. He met him, knew who he was. My primo's real into corridos. He actually bumped his corrido. And let me tell you something about corridos. Chalino Sanchez, Los Originales, Los Tigres del Norte, Los Tucanes de Tijuana. These guys didn't make a corrido about you unless you were somebody. They didn't sit down and write a song about you unless you had respect. A lot of these guys, Dr. Fonseca, Güero Palma, a lot of these individuals that get songs written about them is because they had a lot of flowers being given to them, whether in life or death. These guys are worthy of that. So for El Magoo to actually have a corrido written about him, you would have to break it down and listen to it and recognize what it said. Now, in this actual corrido that was written about this guy, it was about someone who started out having a rough life, someone who was in the game thick, someone who was there at a high level and decided to change his life and get away from that and continue to push. That's what the corrido entails. Now, most of these corridos about people are all facts and truths. They talk about life stories. That's what a corrido is. They're going to tell about your life. Just like Chalino had some written about him, talking about him being young, having nothing, then coming up in the music game and setting a precedent for all the music that's out there now in Mexico when it comes to narco corridos. This is what this shit is about. So I truly believe that at one point in time, maybe he was somebody allegedly. Maybe he was associated or affiliated with certain people. But at the end of the day, man, I believe he was just someone who was a victim of circumstance. Now, I was talking to my prims, like I said, and he said, hey, homie, you think it was a hit? You think they got him? Something caught up to him? Perhaps. When you do a lot of dirt in the past, when you make a lot of moves, man, there's people that want to get you out of the way. There's certain situations that you find yourself involved in that can finally catch up to you. I remember, my homeboy, and here's a quick story. My homeboy actually was into burning people. That was his thing, man. He used to like to work people over, get them for their bread, right? I tried it one time and almost got shot in my back. I'll never do that shit again, right? I don't need to anyway. I'm too old. I can't run. But he met this white dude. He met a wood, brother. And this white dude needed a zip of something, right? So what the homeboy did was he was like, hey, victim. He seen victim, right? And he was like, hey, give me a ride over here. Give me the feria. I'm going to run up in this pad. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. I'm going to come out. He pulled one of my, now I was the master of disaster. I tried this one time. It worked, right? It worked. So he tried to put one of my movidas, right? But it didn't quite work out for him. What did, and then it didn't. I'm going to tell you how. This is how karma catches up to you. Everything you do will catch up to you. He actually got the dude for his money, went in the pad, jumped the fence, bam. Went in the cuts, dipped out, right? Had a car waiting for him on the other side. He was gone. And he thought he got away with it. Smooth little bread. That's what Jesus said, break it. And everything was good. And what happens? Eventually, guard! The white dude seen him. The white guy caught up to him, man. Months later, recognized him. He didn't recognize the white guy. Sometimes when you do dirt and you're a robber or you steal or you do anything, people, you don't you're not really looking in the eyes of the man. It's hard to face that person. It's hard to look into their eyes, right? So he didn't really get a photographic picture of what this guy looked like, but the guy remembered him. See, one thing about people that do you dirty, you'll never forget their face. You'll always remember what they looked like, what they were wearing, how they smelled that day. Because you can't get over the fact that you got. So you're always looking for your get backs. You're always looking to run into that person. I've had people that 20 years later, man, I'm doing my thing and I'm always looking over my shoulder, seeing if I'm going to run into them or they're going to run into me. It's just what it is, right? So anyways, he ended up getting taken out into an orchard, man, and beaten to death. They found his body out there. Of course, this guy was arrested and so on and so forth. He's doing his white power thing and the homeboy's doing nothing. And that's it. So karma could definitely catch up to you. I pulled one of the same movidas, man. All right, trip out. You guys want to hear it, right? So there was this chick. She was getting bread, right? And she had all these little youngsters running around with her, man, doing the thing for her. They would be the ones pushing. I remember one time the homeboy had the hookup. I don't know what I was thinking, right? He was like, hey, fool, she got hella D, right? So I was like, fuck it. I need 2 zips, right? So I went, she had this little youngster jump out the car, snatched it and took off running. Woo! Pop, 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 pop. I felt him. I was doing the Matrix, eh? You know what I mean? I was doing the dog, the bounty hunter. I was like, no, brah. They were trying to get my ass. Ultimately, I ain't gonna lie. She ended up catching up with me later, and I paid back because she was not the one, man. I know you're saying, damn, you let a chick punk you? No. She'd have killed you. You don't know, right? The equality, homie. Women are equal. So that was that. Anyways, getting back to El Magoo, and it's not a laughing matter at all, man, because this man actually lost his life. My condolences to his family, his friends, and whatever he was associated with, man. Like, that's neither here nor there. I don't speak on cartel business or anyone associated usually with the cartel based upon the fact that, I feel, that's things better left unspoken. If you're not actually living that life, you're not actually involved with the cartel, and you don't know the ins and outs of what it is, then you don't speak on it. I told you before, my tia actually, rest in peace, my tia actually frequented them circles, and did her thing, and she would tell me stories that I can't speak on. And I will say this, man, it's the truth, man. It's all real. So you got to know what you say before you're saying it. But El Magoo was found dead, killed, man. And there's going to be a lot of conspiracy theories. And people that didn't know who he was, man, do your research, your homework on him. Look him up. He was very well known in the game. Did have a music, a label. He actually ran a music label, successful. Him and his wife ran a successful hair product business where they sold extensions. There's a lot of things that you get involved in when you got a little bit of money, man. But some of the most notorious things that they're talking about, I don't want to speak on. You can look up yourself. As far as the investigations into his private business and what he had going on, I don't know those to be true, but I know for facts, man, they were definitely looking into this man. But he's now no longer with us. Was it a hit? Was it just a victim of circumstance, or did fucking some of his dirt catch up to him? I don't know, man. I know they're investigating. They say they have someone, that they're looking at, their radars on someone. It's hard to get away with the murder nowadays. You know what I mean? You better shave your fucking eyebrows, your eyelashes, everything better go, homes, because one piece of hair and it's a wrap, homie. There's cameras everywhere. It's just hard to do. You can't do it no more. Someone's getting busted. Someone's going to say something. That's just the fact of the matter and the way it is. But this was a very well-known guy, a very well-respected, alleged to be in high association with the cartel, man. And my respects go out to him and his family. And I know a lot of people like to say, Gunnar, why do you give a lot of these criminals or people that did time your respect? I believe every man is deserving of respect. Every man is worthy of his legacy carrying on. Whether you were a criminal or not, man, we're all the same here, man. Some people make mistakes. Some people make bad choices. That's the great thing about living in the country we live in. You're entitled to make right or wrong choices, man. It's what you do with your life, is what people are going to recognize and see. So I don't knock a man that hustled and didn't have nothing when he was younger and then turned it into something good, But like I said, bad things always follow people that did bad, man. And it's just hard to shake that. With that being said, heed the word, man, and listen to what I'm saying, man. Let's treat all people the same with respect. It'll get us a lot further in life, and that's facts. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose, that you get every single thing that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the struggle to strive and the strive to struggle. Will we truly find out who murdered El Magoo? Will we truly find out what happened? Maybe so, maybe not. At the end of the day, man, this guy's legacy through his family, I'm sure, will carry on, and he will be well missed and well respected. My primo said that when he met this guy, he was one of the most charismatic, coolest dudes he ever met in his life. He said this guy had an aura around him of having money, homes, but not being too flamboyant with it. Yeah, he wore the fur coats, a little bit of jewelry and things of that nature. Shit, who doesn't, man? We're proud of what little we have, and that's just the Mexican way. With that being said, man, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle and strive for mines, man. Respects fully. Bang, bang.